Okay, so in this video, we're going to talk about something that we have talked about on this platform for a very long time. For those of you who have followed this platform, many of you are very well familiar with the fact that my wife and we used to be part of the Hebrew movement here in the United States. And that was after we came out of Christianity. We went into the Hebrew movement and we were in it for some time. But then, we kept on researching and looking at things on ourselves, you know what I mean? And asking questions and doing all of that. And we started seeing that things just weren't adding up. In fact, we felt that in many ways we left Christianity only to come back to it. It was just a different flavor of it. And so we said, you know what, this ain't for us. And we left. And the whole time we documented all of that. And so if you're not aware, I would encourage you to go to the front page of our YouTube channel. I have a whole playlist that shows you how we have detailed and walked step by step by step and how we deconstructed, if you will, that's the word now, out of the Hebrew construct matrix. And in fact, that's what it's called, leaving the Hebrew matrix. So if you're interested in that, go check that out. OK, but there were numbers of things that we saw, just on our own, that it just wasn't adding up. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, so we just laid it out there. If you're interested, just go check that out. This video, it's going to touch on because we've done, when I tell you, we've done a lot of videos on the Hebrew stuff. We've done a ton. There are videos I've just taken down myself. I've just done so many of them. But in this video, what we're going to talk about is two stories that prove yet again a point that I have been making for years. And that is what we call the Hebrew movement, regardless if you're here in the States or somewhere else, is actually deeply rooted and grounded in the state of Israel and the people who run the state of Israel. As much as people that claim to be Hebrews will say that, no, that ain't true, they're the fake people. It amazes me that if they're so fake, why do Hebrews spend so much time trying to mimic someone that's fake? It makes no sense. They say mishpachah, you say mishpachah. They say Khan, you say Khan. They observe certain days, you observe certain days. I mean, it's just uncanny how it's just, you're literally are copying and walking step by step with the very people that you call fake. There are even when you go to the more orthodox Hebrew synagogues, many of them you'll find like in places like New York City. These synagogues, well, they have a very interesting history. Number one, if you go back to the history of the Hebrew movement here in the United States, which started around like in the late 1800s and going into the early 1900s. It goes a little bit back, a little bit further than that. It didn't start exclusively here in the United States. It actually started in the Caribbean, and then it made a jump here where it started taking more form. And where it started taking more form here in the United States, mainly was in Harlem. Harlem, you had a lot of stuff going on. Again, I've done a lot of videos on this, detailing this. What we did in those videos, we actually went through the notes of these Hebrew leaders, and they have it stored away at a museum in, I forgot the name of the museum, but it's right there in New York. I think it's in Harlem. It's a Jewish museum. It's all there. So this is not hidden or anything like that. This is all there. Many of the synagogues, the black synagogues that came about during that time, they were actually funded by Jewish people that were living in Harlem and in other places in New York at that time. So it's safe to say, and it's very accurate to say, that the Hebrew movement, as we know it today, was actually seed funded by Jews, the very people that Hebrews today will openly on social media say that they're the fake people. But yet your movement was funded, seed funded by these people. You cannot separate that. I mean, you just can't. So it brings a lot of questions to people who are really wanting to know the answers to the, things that just don't add up. And so you had a group during this time. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit, going into the early 60s. There was a group out of, I want to say Chicago, and who said, you know what, we're done here as Hebrews. This is Babylon. We got to get up out of here, right? So they initially they moved to. It was a group of them that initially moved to West Africa, right? So they went to West Africa. They stayed there for a little bit, but from what I understand, if you listen to their testimony, they said, man, it just was not working out for them at all. So they ended up in the state of Israel, and that was like in the mid to late 60s. And then, they had thousands of people that went over there. These are Black Americans who migrated to the state of Israel. All right. Now, in the state of Israel, there's certain requirements if you're going to be over there. If you're going to become a citizen or trying to become one of the requirements is you have to be you have to participate with the IDF, their military. And that was something for the longest time they did not take part of until in recent years. And so you're going to see in this first article that I'm showing you that you have many Black Americans who are trying to become citizens of the state of Israel, who are literally putting their lives on the front line to defend the state of Israel. And this is my whole argument, the point I've been making for a very long time now, that the Hebrew movement is anchored in the state of Israel. It's anchored in it. So all this stuff that you hear on social media that seems like it's counter to the state of Israel and all of that, at the end of the day, all roads lead back to the state of Israel. There are even preachers on YouTube who actually go and work I'm talking about Hebrew preachers who have sat down and are working side by side with rabbis. But again, I don't know, our people seem to overlook a lot of this stuff. But again, it's all roads lead back to the state of Israel. And so here's so I want to get to this article real quick here. So Death of Soldier reopens debate about citizenship for non-Jewish Hebrew Israelites. Not going to read the whole thing. But first of all, our condolences to the young man for losing his life, on this. And so anyway, real quick, let's just read a clip of this. The death on Saturday in the northern Gaza Strip of Sergeant Elisha Young, 19, from Dimona in southern Israel, reopens decade-long campaign for state recognition of non-Jewish Hebrew Israelite community to which he belonged. Young of the 401st Armored Brigade, the 52nd Battalion, was buried on Monday at the Dimona Military Cemetery in the presence of IDF soldiers and family and friends. And then they go on and give the history that I gave you about the Hebrew Israelites. His family, his dad has passed some time ago. So who was left was his mother. And I think he had a brother who has special needs. And so his mother was kind of stuck in a situation where, she needed help. And this young man, stood up and did what he needed to do. One of the things, of course, was trying to join, or he became a part of the IDF. And then it goes on. That's him, I believe. No, that's not him. But that's a picture of some of the members of the group. Then it goes on, and then there's a part of this article towards the end I wanted to highlight. 100% of this community serves in the IDF. What did it say? 100% of this community serves in the IDF. So to be 100% clear here, Hebrew Israelites, Black Hebrews, Black Americans have aligned themselves with the state of Israel, where they are fighting on the front lines. I think this is a pretty big deal, and is one of these things that get overlooked, and the way many Black folks handle stories like this is that they will quickly find a way to delineate themselves from this group. They will quickly dismiss them and say, well, they're the crazy ones or this or that or whatever. But I want to remind people before you jump into the comment section and want to take that route of the fact that there are many stories that came out just a few years ago when the state of Israel said, listen, enough is enough. We getting these Black folks out of here and we're going to deport them. It was Black Hebrews, or there was Hebrews here on YouTube and on other social media platforms who use their platforms to speak loudly against that policy and to call it racism. So on one hand, you aligned yourself with them. But when stories like this come out, now all of a sudden they're the weird ones and they don't have anything to do. They're misguided, so forth and so on. And, that's one of the unfortunate conveniences of social media. You can align yourself and disown people at a blink of an eye. But truth is truth. So anyway, so that's that story. Let me go to this story here very quickly. The Israeli army once excluded African Hebrew Israelites. Now one of them is an IDF social media star. So you got Black Americans once again who are reassigning themselves as Hebrews. And now by doing so, it has enabled them to lead some of the initiatives of the IDF, especially as it relates to Gaza. All right. So anyway, here we go. Again, not going to read the whole article. We'll just read part of it here. After the Israel Defense Forces rescued Noah Aragami and 3 other hostages from Gaza in June, the military turned to social media to celebrate its operation success and the hostages' emotional reunions with their families. In one Instagram video, an IDF spokesperson gives a brief recap of the day's events. These hostages were released during a high-risk complex mission deep inside of Gaza, the spokesperson said in fluent English. We will continue doing everything in our power to bring our hostages back home. What's remarkable about this video is that it was liked. Is not that it was liked by more than 68,000 times, or that the comment section was overrun by anti-Israel trolls. Rather, the fact that the spokesperson in the video is Lilac Logan, a 24-year-old woman who grew up in the African Hebrew Israelite community in Dimona, near Beersheba in the Negev desert. And let's see. And then they go on and give some more history and talk about some other things here. But that's the young lady there. All right. She's African. She's one of her parents is a Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew or whatever. The other parent is a Jewish person that was born there. All right. So that's why she kind of looks mixed, because she is. But she does align herself with the Hebrews over there in Dimona. All right. So here's another thing that we brought up, and we've talked about this before many times on this platform. I've done videos on this as well. Now, Dimona, if you're not familiar with where Dimona is located on the outskirts it's more on the outskirts of the main cities of the state of Israel. So it's right here. I'm circling it right now. I'm going to try to revisit that particular map here, but it's something I want to show you here as soon as I can hit the back button. Okay. So Dimona is not necessarily just known to be the home of Hebrew Israelites, but it's really known for a nuclear weapons factory that's right there. And so this is how, if you want to know how close it is, that's how close it is. All right. And now going back to that map that I was just showing you, which is right here. Let's just bring that up. This is where it is. All right. Now, Israel, this weapons factory, for obvious reasons, has been a target for Israel's armies for a very long time. In fact, it was actually struck, I think, once or twice, but it didn't really do any extensive damage. But if you imagine for a moment, if this plant were to get struck successfully, well, guess who would be the first casualties for the state of Israel? It would be Black Americans. Black Americans would be the first casualties for the state of Israel if this nuclear weapons factory was struck down. So I'm trying to point and bring these things out to people so that you can see, listen, ultimately you can believe whatever you want. You want to identify as a Native American, so be it. You want to identify as a whatever, it doesn't matter to me. You want to identify as a Hebrew, that's up to you. But this is the rest of the story that it needs to be addressed in some form of fact. You just can't ignore this. And once again, as I said earlier in this video, all roads as far as Hebrew Israelite or Hebrew movement is concerned, it all leads back to the state of Israel. You can spend all day, all week, whatever, on social media calling these people fake. But at the end of the day, when it comes to your doctrine, when it comes to your practices, it all comes from, you cannot even engage in that unless you're looking at these people for direction. We did another video where one of the members or former members, that they weren't really members of Damona, but they had some associations with them, try to come at us several times. And this individual, she's in the music industry over there. You have African Americans who are active parts of the music industry in the state of Israel. So there you got black people who are over there entertaining Israel, Jewish people in the state of Israel. They're making quite an impact over there in the music industry. But they're also Hebrew. Many of them also identify as Hebrew Israelites. One of the videos I did, I actually went down a list of different artists who are Hebrews, who are entertainers over there. So anyway, take the information, do with it as you will, but this is the rest of the story. And things like this is just, I think it's worth, we can't not stop repeating this stuff, because some people, they need to hear it several times before they actually get it. So anyway, hope you got something out of this. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys take care, and I'll see you again soon.